An interim truce under what could be the most pressure since its signing last month as the US and Iran deepen dispute over who should control the Strait of Hormuz. Washington to reinstate a blockade on Iranian shipping tomorrow morning. Donald Trump also slapping a 20% toll on any party choosing to send cargo through the waterway, saying it's only fair given that the US is doing duty as the self-appointed guardian of the Hormuz. Tehran disputing that claim, with the foreign minister also suggesting that 20% is excessive and that Iran, if it has control, would be more fair in what it charges. Both sides, meanwhile, intensifying strikes on the other, the US hitting strategically significant sites in Bushehr and Qasem Island. Tehran responding with strikes on American assets and bases in the Gulf. One Indian seafarer has died after two Emirati-linked tankers were attacked during passage off the coast of Oman. Iran's Revolutionary Guards accusing them of ignoring repeated warnings. And Neha Poonia for CNN joins us live from New Delhi. Neha, New Delhi summoning the Iranian representative to lodge a strong protest over the death of this Indian seafarer. What do we know?
That's right. News of that attack on the two UAE tankers broke overnight, and it was in the early hours of Tuesday that senior MEA officials, Ministry of External Affairs officials, said there would be a statement. But before that statement was formally issued, we saw the senior-most diplomat at the Iranian embassy here in New Delhi being summoned to the Ministry of External Affairs. His car was seen leaving, and many analysts have commented on how this was a very public summoning done in clear view of TV cameras and crews, and that New Delhi was trying to send out a clear message with that summons. He also had later the first official comments from New Delhi on what exactly happened. India said that it's issued the strongest possible protest against that attack and urged the Iranian diplomat to ensure that these attacks cease at the earliest. What we do know is this, that there were 30 Indian seafarers on board those two vessels that came under attack. One was killed, 10 others have sustained injuries. The Indian government says it's in contact with the families of these seafarers as well as with the local officials in UAE to ensure that all help is extended to them. We also have been speaking to experts who say that in the past, India has been careful about not naming Iran when it comes to condemnation of these strikes as part of the broader conflict. But that seems to have changed this time around. And there seems to be palpable anger, experts say, about how Indian seafarers have been caught in the middle of this conflict.
Neha, anger understandable. This is not the first death of an Indian seafarer in the last few months, given conflict in the Middle East. What kind of reassurance this time is New Delhi seeking?
Absolutely. Last month you had 3 Indian sailors that were killed when a US strike happened in the Gulf of Oman. India had lodged a protest with the US following that attack as well. Just 2 days ago, you had an Indian seafarer that went missing after a strike hit a Cyprus-flagged container ship as well. So, Indian seafarers very much caught in the crosshairs. The language of the statement that New Delhi has issued makes references to this. It's saying that it's calling for immediate cessation of violence by all parties involved. It says it's very important that all sides return to dialogue and diplomacy, and that the targeting of commercial shipping must stop immediately. Also saying that free navigation and commerce should be restored. There's a reason for this. About 1 in 5 seafarers globally is Indian, and Indians make up a very big chunk of the commercial shipping industry. We've seen how in previous attacks as well, many Indians have become victims. Reports suggest 14 Indians have died in West Asia, in the waterway since this conflict started in February. We've asked the Ministry of External Affairs for latest statistics, but very much a pressing concern here in New Delhi that countries not directly involved in this conflict are paying a price for this as hostilities resume.
Thanks. Neha Poonia there for CNN in New Delhi. A political expert tells us why he thinks Donald Trump's proposal to charge a toll in Hormuz is unlikely to give Washington meaningful leverage.
I think it is neither a negotiating tactic nor a long-term shift in policy. The pattern, I think, has been a lot of sort of hopping around and impulsive declarations by President Trump as he sees that the US is unable to truly coerce or force the sort of settlement that it's seeking here vis-a-vis Iran and control over the Strait of Hormuz. I think it's unlikely in the longer term that the US is in a position to collect a 20% toll on ships passing through, and in any case, that is a fairly astronomical number that brings to mind Caribbean piracy or something, and it would massively increase the cost of energy throughout much of the world. So I don't think that's a long-term solution to anything. But it's also not clear to me that this offers any sort of negotiating leverage. And so if it is a tactic, it's not one that I understand, and I'm not inclined to view it as such, if I can be honest. I do think that as time goes on and as shipping remains uncertain and cargo increasingly expensive, we'll see increasing economic pressure on Asian countries and Asian markets. I think that Asian investors in Asian markets should ideally respond with greater lucidity and foresight and not respond to every sort of apparent shift, and instead keep their eye on hedging, on medium-term solutions, and again on looking for energy solutions that are not so dependent on petro supplies flowing through the strait.